Olivero by Abigail Ray. Chapter 1. Year of 1820. Excellent, il mio bambino. Per favore, play the phrase again. I'd like to hear it once more. Anton directed his son to continue with the instrument at hand. The young boy plucked the guitar eagerly into the fresh melody. This was the first time the bashful child had the courage to share his own music. My Olivero, Anton clapped his hands after the finish of the sweet song. You are bound to be a great composer, just as your papa. He set the guitar aside from Olivero to hug his son in pride. Anton was fond of his only child, teaching him the very subject Anton himself was a master in. Soon you shall take part in my future opera, Anton professed. My little Olivero, an important character sent by a prince to swoon the princess with your guitar. Really, Papa? Olivero cheered. See, next year when you are 12, the opera will be finished by then. Anton then obtained a new idea. How about you write a little piece for my opera? A small love piece. Really? Help you write music? Olivero's young eyes glimmered. Anton nodded, and Olivero darted off with his guitar to the drawing room, hungering for ideas. He went to the desk, where a quill and blank staff paper sat. His composition literacy needed much help, as he was only at the beginning of learning the craft. But of course, Anton would help him with corrections. Olivero Amor lived in a nice house with his parents, situated in the Italian city of Parma. They were a wealthy family, the financial stability coming from Anton Amor, the largest figure among opera composers. Anton particularly specialized in the style of the old Italian Baroque, having studied at the finest conservatories from Venice to Rome, receiving grand commissions for his superb music. With the 19th century bringing Romanticism into the arts, Anton became fond of combining the embellishments of Baroque with the dramatism of Romantic ideals. His unique style set him apart from other composers, and it proved successful. After his marriage to sweet Julia, Anton received a proposal to be director and componist of the Parma Opera. He gladly accepted, as Julia thought it would be the perfect place to settle and have a family. Soon after moving, she gave birth to Olivero. Olivero was a precious gem to his parents. He was small, but a mighty child. Being an only child, such a life tended to become lonely. His mother had no luck with other surviving children. Despite being alone, the guitar sufficed as Olivero's companion. His parents hired a variety of tutors to keep the boy company and in good education. His trained manners flourished from the common subjects of grammar and arithmetic to the arts of dance and drawing. His sparkling eyes were full of knowledge and good temperament. There was much anticipation for his future. When the next year came, 12-year-old Olivero finished his little guitar piece. Anton only had a few touch-ups in the opera to work out with the copyists before the start of rehearsals. The company had already organized the orchestra and singers that were to perform. Often Olivero sat beside his father, watching the form and correction of a masterpiece. The storyline of this opera was of love. A prince of a distressed kingdom trying to grasp the attention of a beautiful princess, but her parents arranged a marriage with an old but far more rich king. Anton was sure he could capture the audience's attention with the cliché story, with his outstanding music. People traveled from all over Europe and beyond to hear his famous music. The high expectations made Olivero feel quite nervous on his part. He hoped to make his father proud. In the first rehearsal, Olivero had to practice standing on stage in the correct form in order to draw the audience into the scene of his serenade. When speaking his few lines, he had to be loud and clear to reach the back of the auditorium. The elegance of the opera house gave a measure of intimidation. Thousands of wax candles dripped among gold and marble Baroque sculptures of drama, deep red velvet seats and wallpaper, the crystal chandelier, each accent of detail wove into the elements of prestige. The practice sessions soon turned to full dress rehearsals. Olivero's outfit was that of a young minstrel, dark purple and maroon velvet in Tudor fashion. When the day of the first performance arrived, it caused a stir in the city. A new opera by Anton Amor always did. Early on in the evening, carriages rattled all around the opera house. Out of each coach came members of high society, dressed to impress. Little Olivero peeked out from the stage side, trembling as the house became full. Anton came up behind him, taking his shoulder. "Don't be nervous. Just play as you did in rehearsals. You will do great." Anton then hurried towards his place in the orchestra pit. Olivero went backstage to prepare himself. He quietly strummed his little guitar. His part wasn't until the second half, so he found a place to sit and watch from afar. As the overture began with its chords echoing, the main actors hurried to their curtain call. From the moment the overture ended and the curtain lifted, the singers performed at their best. The songs flew by in Olivero's racing mind. When the first act closed for intermission, the audience rumbled in conversation. Behind the curtain, Olivero placed himself in his assigned spot. The leading soprano playing the part of the princess stood upon her platform, which depicted a castle tower. Her makeup artist brushed up her appearance. Olivero strummed his composition to ease his tension until the break came to an end. The audience murmured until the curtain lifted and then became silent, watching young Olivero with his guitar. Olivero glanced at his father. Anton gestured for him to start. Olivero obeyed. The swooning song strummed as Anton directed the strings pizzicato. The princess watched with superb acting. The sweet instrumental made the crowd smile with fondness towards the boy's public premiere as a composer. Olivero brightened more so in expression while playing guitar. It was a lot at once, but his efforts were working as the audience sat, transfixed into the scene. The piece ended with a roar of applause. Before Olivero left the stage, the princess threw a ruddy rose. "Who sent you to ever so tenderly swoon me with such a touching melody?" "Prince Philip, of course." Olivero bowed. "Per favore, send him my message. Tell him to meet me here tonight. Grazie, dear one." With that, the princess retreated from the tower window, and Olivero hurried off stage, having completed his role. After the opera's finale, the cast gave their bows, and flowers were thrown. Olivero caught a rose before the curtain closed. Anton made his way backstage and gave his son the biggest hug. "You were perfect. Your first performance." Julia, who was in the audience, found her family with pride. Olivero felt much excitement at the moment. Julia told him, "I must get you home while your papa finishes up here. You and I will have a treat for such a good job. Then you need rest, as this opera runs for a week." Olivero chimed with humming as he packed up his guitar to return home with his mother. For the perfect end to the day, Julia cooked gnocchi with pesto for dinner. Dessert consisted of homemade tiramisu. Olivero went to bed with many dreams of his musical future.